Okay, so I'm here today with Nicola Chambers from Pardon Chambers Architects. They're a REBA chartered practice and were established in 2016 by Roman Pardon and Nicola Chambers, who's with me today. Based both in London and Hertfordshire, they work imaginatively with clients to deliver high quality design-led residential, community and commercial projects that add value and create delight. They offer a full range of architectural services from site feasibility through to planning, building regulations and listed building consents. I thought it would be useful for our clients to get to know a friendly local architect and have a few questions to ask to help us understand where they are positioned in the market and how they might be able to help you should you have an upcoming project. Hi, Nicola.
Hi, Lee. How are
Um,
you?
yeah, we're good. We're good. Getting through it, working from home and doing some things a little bit differently to the way we usually do it. But no, it's going well. So a couple of questions that I've been asked, and obviously the reason for starting the whole sort of Q&A really with you. Are the councils still accepting planning applications, and are they working, and are decisions being made for people that have got stuff in process at the moment?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things happening at the moment. The applications are still being accepted, which is good, and they're still working through the applications and still making decisions. Today, we actually got approval on an extension in Bishop Stortford,
Oh, great.
so that was good. So that sort of shows that decisions are being made.
Yeah.
But obviously, the current situation is having some effect. The planners are working from home, and they're trying to determine applications without having to visit site. So where it's quite a simple application, such as the one we've just had approved, that was a relatively simple extension. Those can be sort of progressed through, but where it's something more complex, or I imagine on sort of larger projects, they that need sort of site visits, and those might possibly be delayed, because if you're working on something like a listed building, they have to go to site to inspect the building to see what changes you want to make, etc. So projects like that may stall during this time.
That's
But
understandable.
I think it's still important to get your application in if you possibly can, because what will happen is that once things get back to normal, the applications will be dealt with in strict time order. So you need to sort of be in that queue if you possibly can, is
Yeah,
what I would say.
that makes sense. That makes sense. So it's just the site, the physical site visits that will hold up will hold up applications, but they are being able to get things through otherwise, and looking at the information that they have to hand.
Yeah. I mean, they're there to talk to as well, if you need to. So yeah, they're just trying to work through as
That's
best they
good.
can.
And for a client that was thinking about going for planning or having an extension at home, do you have any tips that they could, maybe any tips or things that you would suggest that they could do to prepare for this, and some things that might be suitable to do during sort of a lockdown period in order to prepare to go forward with a planning application?
Yes, I think the key word there is prepare. I think now is a good time to be doing quite a lot of preparation for any future projects. So there's various ways that you can prepare at the moment. And the first, I've got kind of 5 tips that I would sort of recommend. The first one would be to think very carefully about your requirements for the project, about what exactly it is that you want, and what your priorities are, what's the most important thing to you to get out of it? If you can't have everything, then what's the absolute key thing that you want to get out? Make a clear list of the accommodation that you want, whether it's extra bedrooms, kitchen, dining, living space, or all that. Just think really carefully about that, so that you can brief the architect once you decide to start. Secondly, I would say collate all the information that you've got on your existing house. So, for example, do you have any easements or covenants that affect the house, or anything that you might do to the house? Do you have any information in terms of surveys that you had done when you bought the house? Do you know if there's any asbestos? Are there tree protection orders that you know about? Anything like that that might affect what you do. Get all that information together, and that'll be really useful once you get started. The other thing that I would say is start making like an ideas book, scrapbooks of ideas. Obviously now you don't have to make a physical scrapbook. You can just get on sites like House and Pinterest and start collecting your ideas on ideas boards on there, and again that will help you when you are working with a designer to actually describe your ideas, to help the designer understand what is in your, what's in your mind and what you want to achieve through the project. I would also think about the budget that you've got. Thinking about that if it's an extension, most projects you will have to pay VAT. So whatever project, so whatever budget that you're thinking about, you need to take VAT into account. Obviously, if it's a new build house, then that's not so much of an issue on most of it. And also you need to remember that you'll need some money for other things like professional fees, planning fees, etc., and a contingency for the project. And lastly, I would just think about the time scale. When do you want to actually build the project? How quickly do you want to move forward? Things like that.
That's some good advice there. Some good tips. Obviously, with the planners still operating over this time, are you guys still able to work during this sort of lockdown period?
Yes, we've set up to work remotely, so we're getting the hang of Zoom calls and a new way of working. But we're continuing where we can, basically with some ongoing projects. Some projects have gone on hold, etc. But where we can, we're progressing things.
That's good. And have you, as a result of sort of working from home and having to do things a bit differently, have you been able to sort of innovate your offering and product? Have you come up with any new services as a result?
What we started doing is a new service which we call a remote feasibility review, where basically we can look at sites and buildings, as it says, remotely. So we will do desktop studies, looking at researching into the background of the project, the sort of planning policies that might affect it, any heritage considerations, looking at all the site information that a client can supply, whether that's photos, videos, the surveys and things that I was just talking about. So we do that sort of background information, and then we will try to look at sort of feasibility options about what you could do on that site. We're able to sort of download basic OS site plans from the internet, so we can sort of work with those to look at what you might actually be able to achieve on a site. So there'll be so you've done that background work, so that when we sort of get back to normal, you can then sort of move forward that much more quickly.
That's good to know, because our developers throughout this period have actually been still really quite active in looking at sites and wanting to buy sites. So yeah, in my mind, they haven't really stopped that type of work. I mean, are they still building now? Do you still have projects running at this time? Are builders on site?
We haven't got any that are sort of, well, no, sorry. We have got one project which was on site, which has stopped. That's in central London, and it was an internal fit out project. So that had to stop. But some very small builders where people can work individually, or very small teams, are continuing. But most others have sort of stopped to look at, to sort of get a sense of how they can progress going forward, and what their sort of new ways of working are going to be. And so, and I think they're just sort of starting to sort of come to terms with that at the moment, and think about how things can sort of get going again. But one thing that they can or would be working on is putting tenders together for new projects. So we've actually got quite a few projects out to tender at the moment, which and all that work can continue, because again it's office based.
Yeah,
So where people can get information out to tender, again it's about preparation. That's great, because once people can start again, they'll be ready to sort of jump in and get onto site and get things moving.
so lastly, tell us what sort of projects you are specialising in at the moment, and some of the things that you guys are looking forward to getting your teeth stuck into when we're out of lockdown.
Well, at PCA we work on a variety of projects, basically, whether that's commercial, community projects, and residential houses. So we don't specialise as such in a particular building type. We just try to focus on the delivering high quality projects with great service, basically. So we're just really looking forward to getting back up to sort of full speed again, and starting with, I mentioned the project in London. It'd be great to start that on site again and see that completed. We're working on the village hall in Little Haddam, so that would be great to get that one moving again, and quite a bit of residential work around Stortford and in this area. So we're just very keen to sort of get it all moving again.
Get going again. Oh, good stuff. Oh, well, thank you very much for your time today. Thanks for telling us all about yourselves, and best of luck, and I'll speak to you soon.
All right, thanks a lot.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.